We should be live. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday, May 17th. Don't adjust those dials. 3-man group today. Myself, Jake Hari, and the boss man himself, Alex Baker. Guys, what's going on? Three-way pod for the entire time.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Excited to have Alex on and share some knowledge with us. His Yahoo knowledge.
Yeah, man. I'm eyeing these big prizes on Yahoo today. Let's get it.
Let's do it. So normal process for this show, we take a look at everything position by position. We'll start at pitchers. We'll work through all of the hitting. If you're looking to join Yahoo, which I really think that you should, it is a fantastic setup for, honestly, everybody, but especially people just trying to get their feet wet in DFS. Low management fees, sometimes no management fee whatsoever. That is the biggest benefit you'll find anywhere in the industry. It's massive to start off. Before the contests even start, you're simply just better off. It's a 10 max contest. You don't have to worry about running into 150 lineups coming from Alex. You're just you're only getting 10. Everything has to be manual, no CSV imports. It's just going to be a much more enjoyable process for, I honestly think, every single person that's trying to play there. Is there anything that I undersell or don't sell enough for Yahoo, Alex?
Josh, I think you're counting me short with these 10 entries. I'm going to make the most of them, but I think that is a good point that with each person limited, each person's making up a smaller percentage of the pool. So right now, 10 out of 1,100 is only 1%, whereas on DraftKings or FanDuel, people can enter 3%. Depending on the size of the tournament. So I think that's a big difference. And it's like the difference between casino poker and online poker, where at casino poker, every person has to fill a seat. But when you have guys filling 24 seats online, it just makes things way tougher for everyone.
It's a really good point. I've never heard anybody make that mention, but if anybody would, I would expect it to be you.
Well, it's a little bit dated because I don't think anyone in the U.S. actually plays online poker anymore.
I wish.
Yeah, right.
I miss it.
Isn't it?
You can in certain states, like yeah. Hopefully soon. I'm hoping that some of these sites come out with poker once the laws change.
That was college for me, basically every day. What else did you have to do? The internet wasn't as good. Smartphones didn't exist. You didn't have as much fun stuff, so poker took up a lot of time. Poker and Halo, that was everything. Now I guess it's something plus Fortnite. Alrighty, let's dive into pitching. And very unique pitching slate. We have, let's say, 3 major arms. We might qualify one as a little bit lesser than the others. I haven't heard any opinions on baseball yet throughout this whole day from either Jake or Alex. Right now, I'm leaning more towards Scherzer than DeGrom, but I think they're 1A, 1B. I think Gerrit Cole slots in safely behind them, but still a high level ace on any other slate. DeGrom at $62 on Yahoo, $57 for Scherzer, $52 on Cole. I'll give it to you, Alex. What stands out to you at the top of pitching today?
Right now, I'm trying to bug check because Scherzer isn't on my projections for Yahoo, so I'll look at that. After I'm done talking with this, I have a projection from in my spreadsheet, just not on the projections on the site. So I'll fix that in a sec. Right now, DeGrom versus Miami. Miami is an amazing matchup because, first of all, they don't have a lot of run producing capability, but second of all, I have them projected to strike out 7% more than your average team, and when you add that all up, that's like a huge potential night. Scherzer versus the Cubs. Cubs, obviously a much stronger team. I have them striking out just about average. So as far as matchup, I give it to DeGrom. Scherzer overall is a slightly better fantasy pitcher. So overall, all factors considered, my projection for DeGrom is just a little bit higher.
Okay. Jake, what are you thinking on these guys? DeGrom, Scherzer, and if you want to throw in Cole, throw in Cole.
Hard to argue with DeGrom's matchup here. I mean, Miami just strikes out so much. It's just a little bit too good of a matchup to kind of pass for me. So On Yahoo, it's just a $5 difference. I think you're going to be able to find enough value elsewhere, especially if you're doing 6-man stacks and you're stacking some of these guys later in the order. I don't think it's going to be an issue to spend up that extra 5. So for me, it's DeGrom, just better matchup and arguably a better pitcher right now.
49% expected ownership right now for DeGrom, 53 for Scherzer. So, we're essentially looking at every single lineup having one of these two guys, which is really crazy to think about. Which brings me to Gerrit Cole. $52, $5 cheaper than Scherzer, $10 cheaper than DeGrom, 13% expected ownership. Is there merit to Cole over both of those guys because of the ownership, Alex?
So Cole, great strikeout pitcher, probably not quite the same level as DeGrom and Scherzer, but Boston obviously really is one of the best hitting lineups, and I've projected to strike out 8% less than average. So all that, he has the toughest matchup, and I think he's not the best pitcher of the group. So raw projection, I gotta go with Cole. The fact that he's 13% owned is kind of interesting, but I'm not sure that's enough to compensate for the negative factors in his favor against him.
It's weird. If you drop DeGrom and Scherzer from the slate, we have this really difficult conversation of, well, Gerrit Cole is probably the best pitcher on the slate. He's also got a date with the Red Sox, which is a terrifying matchup. And I wonder how that hashes out if we don't have, 2 of the 5 best, maybe the 2 best pitchers in baseball going above him.
Yeah, that would be quite the issue. But luckily, we've got the 2 best pitchers to talk about. We don't have to make that decision. For me, I'm there with Cole as well. It's just a really, really tough match against Boston, a team that doesn't strike out all that much. Cole has some issues giving up power on the base paths as well. So he's not close to touching DeGrom or even Scherzer for that matter for me.
So with Yahoo being a 2-pitcher site, and we know that essentially half of the ownership is going to one of DeGrom or Scherzer, it means we still need to fill the other SP or your SP2 spot. And it's going to be pretty tough to force in both DeGrom, Scherzer, and get all individual bats. So we're going to take a step down. We've got 4 guys projected into double figures of ownership that are further down as SP2s. Aaron Sanchez at $36, Martin Perez at $36, Merrill Kelly at $31, Matt Harvey at $28. Who stands out most to you in that range, Alex, as a guy that can go along with DeGrom or Scherzer? Is it one of those 4? Is it somebody else?
All right, so I'm getting I'm running some crunches based on my projections. I find that's a pretty good way to kind of gauge what the best plays are without considering ownership. So right now, Merrill Kelly is coming up as one of my big SP2s, and when I'm looking into it, San Francisco, they don't strike out a lot, but the run total that he's facing is on the lower side. So that on Yahoo, I think they kind of incentivize being able to pitch longer with giving out fewer runs. So at 31, I think that he's looking like a pretty solid play. What do you guys think?
I'm a big Merrill Kelly fan. I don't really understand why he's priced like he is. Had some of those thoughts earlier today in the strategy show. But he is a guy that I would absolutely be looking to as a SP2 pairing with DeGrom and Scherzer. Jake, what about you?
Agreed on Kelly for sure. And then another guy that we should probably throw into the mix is Joey Lucchesi. Just how bad the Pirates have been versus lefties. And I think Lauer had some pretty decent success even last night against them. And in my opinion, Lucchesi is a much better real-life pitcher than Lauer is. So you look at the Pirates' K rate versus lefties so far this season. Actually, let me go to the active roster. I don't think I've got that pulled up. Yeah, active roster. They are at 25.7%, 75 WRC plus an ISO under 100. So they just have not been able to hit lefty pitching basically all season. And I think Lucchesi is actually pretty good. So, yeah, I've got no problem paying for him as an SP2, $37.
Not a guy that I think I would be getting to, but he's certainly a guy that I like. I'm a little apprehensive over the amount of strikeouts that Lucchesi can get against Pittsburgh. The one guy that stands out most to me is not projected to get much ownership. I mean, really, outside of DeGrom and Scherzer, no one's really projected for any ownership. So it's not really driving any decisions. Do either of you guys have interest in Trevor Richards?
I got to him using Alex's projections on the site, which I recommend people do, especially if you're playing on Yahoo.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna find better projections elsewhere. But yeah, I got to about 20% of Richards out of 100 lineups when I factored in ownership. So yeah, I'm in on Richards for sure. I mean, it's a good price for a guy who we also think is good. If the Mets stack up a bunch of lefties here at the beginning of the order, Richards has that out pitch, which is his changeup, and it's actually really, really good. So while it might look scary with guys like Cano and Nimmo up at the top of the order, those are actually the guys that I would want to face if I'm Trevor Richards here. So low implied total against him, just under 4 for the Mets. Yeah, I like Richards. I'm assuming you're getting to a bunch of them as well, Josh.
Yeah, I am. Alex, interest in Richards?
Absolutely. I mean, this game, the over/under is 6.5, and I'm looking at the slate, and it's like, is this game being played in 2015, and all the others are being played in 2019? Because 6.5, that's unheard of these days. I mean, most of it's because of DeGrom, and the Marlins have a team total of 2.8, but the Mets have a team total of 4.2, which is only it's about 25th on the slate out of 30. And with Richards being a little bit cheaper than some of the other options, and let me double check the Mets lineup projected today. I have striking out just a little bit more than average, so I think there's a lot of factors going in his favor today.
Be interesting to see what that line would be if Trevor Richards were, a different, better pitcher. Not that I don't like Trevor Richards, but if he were Gerrit Cole or Cole Hamels or Rich Hill or something, where that line would actually end up. Speaking of those guys, go ahead. What'd you say, Alex?
You mean like a under 6 team total if it was like Scherzer versus DeGrom or something?
Yeah, could you get enough juice on it to get below 6?
I bet we'll see it sometime this year because, I mean, Miami, they play inside, so the potential is there. But like I said, they don't have that ace anymore.
Well, no, they're on every other team now.
But even if it's like Caleb Smith versus DeGrom,
that would be the one.
Yeah,
that would be the one.
Yeah.
So anybody we're missing here, or is it really just one of the top 2 and find the value elsewhere?
Here's a couple guys I want to hear Alex's opinion on because like I said, I did use his projections to run crunches. And I did get a decent amount of the following guys. Matt Harvey, Frankie Montas, and Martin Perez. Is there someone that sticks out to you there, Alex?
All those guys I think are viable. It's going to come a lot to ownership, but I see that Montas is going against my Tigers, and they might not admit it, but they're not very good this year. So I think that even though he's kind of like an average strikeout pitcher, that's favorable. With Harvey, let's see.
He was the one I was surprised about. I mean, he is $28, I believe. Yeah, 28 on Yahoo.
He's the most popular paydown option, 14% expected ownership.
Yeah, Harvey has been really popular this year for some reason. Let me dig into his numbers here.
He's probably the floor, yeah.
I might have to go in and update this because I think once I update the numbers for today, his projection is going to go down a little bit, but it's just kind of like Kansas City. They strike out about average. Harvey has been only striking out 15.7% of batters this year, which is pretty abysmal. So I probably won't end up on him by the time that I finalize my projections.
Good to know. I think that probably covers pitching. Means that it's the perfect time for everybody to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, you get alerted immediately when we go live. And why would you want to miss it when we've got the boss man here for the full hour-ish?
Yeah.
Can't beat it. Hit that like button, everybody. It really helps us out. Going to move on to catcher, the illustrious catcher position. Some of the high ownership numbers, we've got 3. Ownership is concentrated to 3 guys right now. Buster Posey at 27% ownership. Can't disagree with that at all. 16% ownership going to Yan Gomes, and 20 to Travis d'Arnaud, who is only $7, flat minimum, as is Yan Gomes, actually. A lot of the catching position is cheap. We've got 11 guys at the minimum. We have 16 of the 30 at $9 or less. Is this a spot where you just pay down, or does someone like Gary Sanchez get a little bit of extra love because he's not at all just a catcher, but more of a bat? Alex, how do you feel about catcher today?
Yeah, I think there's one really standout option if you're going for one-offs, which is Williams Astudillo.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the lineup spot, it's projected to be batting high in the order, and I think that for 11, just above the minimum, that's pretty hard to ignore. And obviously, Sanchez, great player, great talent. So if you have some money left in for splitting up in a catcher, he's a great option too.
Okay. Jake, how do you feel? You reacted positively to the Minnesota Jake's catcher, William Astudillo.
So, yeah, I watched a decent amount of Twins games because they're on in my house. But no, he's just like the perfect guy for DFS. He never strikes out. He's always putting the ball in play, which is exactly what you want. I mean, you'll take a walk every now and then, but this guy's constantly putting the ball in play. And he's actually a decent hitter. And then projected to bat, first, it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can pass up on him for $11. He's probably going to be pretty chalky, I would imagine.
He's single digits, 6% as of right now in the ownership projections.
Man, West Coast bias. I mean, I hope he stays at 6%. I love that.
He's a terrifying leadoff hitter for the opposing pitcher.
Well, the funny thing is, like, his on-base percentage this year is only 286, which is, like, that's really, really low for a leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
But his average – that's right. His average is 277, and in DFS, I found average to be a pretty important stat because that will get you RBIs, whereas getting walks doesn't help you as much. And his ISO is pretty high this year, 185, so I think that he might get some extra base hits too.
Yeah, he essentially doesn't strike out. I mean, there are some guys that have like low strikeout rates. He makes those guys look like big time strikeout guys. He's got a great batter's eye, and he has the ability to like single-handedly change the way a starting pitcher is going to continue in the game. He might soak up 30, 35, 40 pitches over 3 plate appearances and really run a pitch count high on these guys.
Well, the funny thing is, actually, like I've you can look at how many pitches per plate appearance he's getting on Fangraphs because they list out pitches and plate appearances. And for the year, he's averaged significantly less than average. So he's only at 3.06. The league average is like 3.9.
Really?
So because he swings so much, like the pitchers get through him a lot faster than your average guy.
Well, then ignore everything I just said.
He's not like the Eric Sogard mold where it's like 12 pitch at bat, 80% of the time leading off.
Who am I thinking of? I thought he was like really good at fouling pitches, like Paul O'Neill style fouling stuff off.
He probably is, but the thing is, like, he never takes walks, and walks are what really up the pitcher's counts.
It's true.
Yeah.
So just the fact that he's swinging a lot of like 1 and 2 pitch at bats.
Yeah, he's swinging right away. The announcers are constantly talking about it. This guy never strikes out, and the ball's in play in the next, before they can get another word out.
So we talked about Astudillo. We mentioned Gomes and d'Arnaud and Posey as the chalk. Does anybody stand out that hasn't been mentioned yet?
I think with Yahoo, you really can take advantage of the 6-person stack. So I might look for a guy from a team that has a high total, but not necessarily is a great catcher to determine which I'm going to end up on. So I got my crunch all run here. Did we talk about Russell Martin?
We did not, but he was going to be the first person I mentioned because he is quite at the top of my Yahoo crunch.
Okay, yeah. The Dodgers make an appealing stack with the 5.7 team total. That's the second highest on the slate. And if you're going to pick 6 out of 8 batters for them, I mean, Russell Martin's he's a pretty good batter. The batting 8th in the order probably isn't very good, but in a stack, you're hoping that he gets 4 to 5 at bats.
Yeah, and when we're talking about batting order for catcher, it's the large majority is hitting 7, 8, or 9. I have 18 of the 30 there. 21 of the 30 from 6 down. Only 4 guys, Astudillo, Posey, Sanchez, and Grandal, project a hit in the first 4. So we're not normally going to be getting anybody at the top. Those are the guys, and those guys are generally going to be a little bit more expensive, save for Astudillo now leading off. He wasn't leading off earlier in the season, if I remember correctly. He was usually in like the 6-7 hole. Anybody else we want to touch on for catchers?
Yeah, how about Tyler Flowers not getting any ownership? Implied total of 5.1 for the Braves. They were actually my highest exposed stack when I factored in ownership.
Really?
Yeah, well, 6 man. I mean, I got 6 of them out of 100, whereas the next few I got 5, 4, 4, 4, and 4. So
Gotcha.
Pretty flat across the board. But yeah, Atlanta was the number 1 stack I got to. And he's probably batting 6th at best, but probably more like 7th or 8th. I don't think he's a bad hitter, and in the context of a stack, I think he makes for a really nice play at basically no ownership.
I have a quick question, sort of regarding the pricing, and it just kind of hit me now. Do you think that any sort of adjustment would benefit Yahoo with regards to their pricing? When Jake and I walk through these, and we'll get through each position as we go through this show, we see so much ownership concentrated into these like extremely low price tags, and so much ownership concentrated at the top end of pitching, depending on the day. Do you think the balance is slightly off?
I think that I prefer softer pricing in general because I've experimented with a lot of DFS sports, and not knowing a lot about the sports I'm playing sometimes, like college football or something, like and the roster turnover is so high. It's like sometimes I've gone in and played some DFS, and it's like so hard to construct a lineup that you like. Where I feel like if people like build a lineup and they like the players in it, they're going to keep playing regardless of the result. So whatever structure allows them to do that, I like that.
Okay. I feel like, we see guys like, the top end of catcher right now. The first time we get to anybody in double digits of exposure is Buster Posey at $10. There are, and this is just one position, but there are 13 guys more expensive than him that are not getting even a third of their ownership. And I feel like that's sort of a pattern at the positions, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Is it just, slightly more salary to open up that top end, or a different sort of construction? But it was just something I've noticed now where every time I bring up a position, it seems like the chalk ownership is pushed to the bottom.
Yeah, I think with when people are making lineups with optimizers, it really emphasizes those high value guys. But in a GPP setting, maximizing your projection isn't necessarily your number 1 priority.
Right.
So I think that creates the flexibility to pick some different guys.
Perfect. I think we're good to head to first base. At first, we have 3 guys in double figures for ownership. 13%, and immediately changing everything that I just said, Paul Goldschmidt, second most expensive first baseman on the slate. Number 2, and this one pains me to say it, the chalk first baseman of Yahoo, Max Muncy, $16. And then coming in at the bottom, the chalk cheap option, Mark Reynolds. I can't say that I disagree with any of these things. I honestly think that Max Muncy is a fantastic play today. You will not hear me say that all that often, but when he does get himself to the top of the order, those are the days that I'm more interested in him. Alex, who's standing out to you for first base?
Yeah, all the guys you mentioned, Muncy, Goldschmidt. I mean, I think that stacking is probably going to be the strategy. So the guys I'm coming up with in my crunches are some of the more popular stacks. One that might be surprising is Joey Votto. Left versus left matchup isn't very appealing. But despite that, he's only $12, and that really accounts for that disadvantage. So I'd be willing to take some shots at him and hope that everyone else just sees left versus left and avoids them.
Can't say I disagree there. I'm a huge Votto fan, though, in regular real life. Jake, what are you liking at first base today?
Yeah, you guys have mentioned a couple of them. Freeman, Carlos Santana against Bundy, assuming he's in the lineup.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I mean, Bundy, his home run problems are well documented. They've kept up this season. You mentioned Muncy against Desclafani, who's got issues against lefties, to be nice about it. And then the one guy I'm getting that's maybe a little bit off the board is Mark Canha. Are you guys getting to him at all?
I am.
Yeah,
minimum.
He's pretty good against lefties, and going up against Daniel Norris, I think he's going to be a guy I get to quite a bit on Yahoo tonight.
Yeah, I got he was fourth in my crunch, and I really like Oakland today just in general. So Canha is going to be a major benefactor of that, especially as the only first baseman at minimum salary today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think $7 says it all. I mean, when you have a first baseman, they're usually pretty good for fantasy, so $7 is just underpricing him by a ton.
Any Chris Davis love here? This is Chris Davis with a C, who won Adam Ship My Money says he's good.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
I didn't get to him, but he's better.
Looks solid at $9.
Yeah.
He's going to make a little bit more than $9 for this particular game. Probably more like 100,000.
He makes like $9 per second when he's asleep, probably.
That's a good way to have it.
If you're not buying him for $9 in fantasy, just imagine if the salaries were what they're actually making.
It'd be interesting. Do you know anything about his salary right now, Alex? Like long term, not just like that it's high.
I know it's like one of those albatross contracts, yeah.
So it gets even worse. It's got a tinge of the Bobby Bonilla contract there. So he gets $3.5 million from 2023 to 2032, and then $1.4 million from 2033 to 2037. So he is getting paid until 2037 by the Baltimore Orioles on this contract.
And he's got it made.
And that's not to say anything about the fact that he's making $20 million a year until 2022. Insane. And kudos to Chris Davis's agent for being the exact opposite of whoever's representing Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna.
Man, that's an even better deal than Josh Smith got.
Yeah, for real. You don't see many people getting stretched for that amount of years.
Yeah,
We'll head to second base now. We've got 4 guys in double digits for ownership here. This one looks a little bit more like what I was talking about. No ownership at all going to like the first 8 guys, but 13% to Jason Kipnis, 13% to Brian Dozier, 16% to Rougned Odor, and 28% to the chalk, $8 Kike Hernandez. I really can't disagree with anything I see there. All 4 of those guys stand out dramatically to me. Jake, what do you like at second base today?
I'm actually getting to a lot of Kolten Wong, which I don't actually know why I'm getting to a lot of him. It's probably just because of Cardinals stacks. He is projected to hit 8th, and it's not like he's free or anything, but just the massive total I think is getting me to a lot of Kolten Wong. That'll probably come down before lock. And then on the other side of that game, actually Odor for $10. He's seen some signs of life from him, and in the 2 spot against Michaelis, and really good hitting environment, 85 plus degrees in Texas. Hard to argue with there. You mentioned Kipnis, right, Josh?
I did.
Yeah, that's I think a pretty obvious one. Don't really need to spend time on that. And another guy you just mentioned, Ozzie Albies against Chacin. I really like that Brave stack.
Okay.
So.
Alex, anybody standing out for you that we didn't mention, or anybody standing out even more so?
Yes. Just going back to Jake's point about Kolten Wong batting eighth, I think one thing that people don't consider enough is that batting eighth with a team total of 6.9, that guy's going to get more plate appearances than a lot of guys batting first on a bad team.
Yeah.
So it's like when you have him at such a low salary, like the number of plate appearances he's probably going to get is rivaling like most second basemen batting higher in the order, just because their team is projected to do that well.
That's an excellent point. Only guy that was standing out in my crunches that we did not mention, actually the guy that came up second most for me, Jonathan VR, $14, projected to hit leadoff, 7% expected ownership right now. Guess I'm leaning in a little bit to an Orioles stack because I like Chris Davis. I like Jonathan VR. I get the sense that I'm going to be seeing a couple more Orioles as we go on. I don't think we've missed anybody else. Second base is a really unfun position to talk about.
Yeah. It's like, man, some of these names are just rough. Like, man, where's all the, I mean.
Did you see the Orioles play at went a little viral yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It could have been 2 days ago with Alberto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not that. That's some little league type stuff right there.
Yep.
Bad. Can't get the force. Can't get the tag. Run scores. That's brutal. We would have been running so many laps for that one in high school. Coach probably would have just been like, just run until practice is over.
Wasn't your buddy Chris Davis involved in that play?
I have no idea. No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I mean, not like Alberto is the full cause of it. Tried to chase him down, didn't get the tag. The throw was late, and then there's nothing like anybody else is going to be able to do at that point. To third base we go. Ownership is very concentrated to essentially one guy, but I guess we'll call it two in double digits. 14% expected ownership for Anthony Rendon. He's got $15. But the chalk here, I would say probably the key cash game play of anybody at third base. Matt Carpenter, also $15, 39% expected ownership. Any thoughts to someone being that chalky with regards to both GPPs and cash, Alex?
Well, with cash, that's the easier question. I'm not as focused on ownership, but sometimes taking a high owned play can actually be a good strategy in cash, even if they're not the best play. But in this case, he's far and away the best play because he's my top projected third baseman. Just because the team total 6.9 is so high, he makes up a substantial part of the Cardinals' production. In GPP, what I'm going to look to is my top stack percentages. Right now, the Cardinals are 9.5% owned, but they are 12.5% to be the top stack of the day. Nice. And I notice their salaries are very high, so they're not great value. So that would be a situation where I might gravitate towards them because people who are using optimizers are discounting them a little bit compared to their actual probabilities. And if I can find some good pitchers to throw in there, that'd be a good reason to stack them up.
Might be a decent situation to grab an extra $5 and go to someone like Gerrit Cole. If you need that savings, where $5 on Yahoo is a massive percentage in theory.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at one of the lineups that just generated here. I went double punt at pitcher with Lucchesi and Harvey. I don't think I'm going to end up with Harvey, but and then I have 2 one-offs, Jeff Mathis at $7 and Jason Kipnis at $11. But then I just have 6 Cardinals. They're all priced about $20 aside from Carpenter. And I think that that is a pretty decent lineup.
Yeah, I ran the crunch and just filtered down on the Cardinals. I have it on the screen right now, but there's no sign of DeGrom or Scherzer in all, I think 12. Is that how many I have? 11. I had 11. No sign of either of those guys. It's a lot of Merrill Kelly, Frankie Montas, Trevor Richards. So it might be tough to get to the Cardinals with one of the big guys.
I think that's the situation where maybe you want to stack a little bit less and go for a 5% stack just to give you some more flexibility with your roster. And what you're really rooting for is the Cardinals to go off, but then DeGrom outscores like Ivan Nova, and you win because of that or something, so that's pretty likely.
On a day like today with 15 games, do you think you would be looking at any like 4-4s on Yahoo? Or would you be wanting to concentrate more into 5 and 6 man?
I think that with 6 mans available on Yahoo, that's a pretty solid strategy. I'd probably gravitate towards that.
Okay.
The reason that strategy could fail is because if you have 6 guys from the same team and other people are doing that too, you end up with a lot of similar rosters. But the mitigating factor is that there are only 1,100 people in the tournament, so the odds of someone really duplicating your lineup are a lot less than on other sites.
Yeah. Okay. Jake, what's standing out to you for third baseman?
Chapman, again, sort of same thing as Kana. And then I'm going to be ending up on some Miguel Sano. It looks like the Twins are going to be pretty popular for me.
Of course they are.
They just smash every night, it seems like. And then hard for me to not mention Suarez versus a lefty. I know Hill is a guy we respect, but Suarez is the guy that I'll have near the top. Everyone else I think we've talked about. Ramirez and Carpenter, I think, are the clear 1-2, and those were my 1-2 in exposure.
So there's one guy we didn't talk about, and I think this is a function sort of what we were talking about before. I think Nolan Arenado is probably the best third baseman on this slate, but he is $27, and that just becomes incredibly cost prohibitive with a $62 Jake DeGrom or a $57 Max Scherzer. Did you get to any Arenado in your crunches, Alex?
Hold on, let me switch my crunch back.
I did not, for what it's worth.
Yeah, see that I have him at used in one lineup out of 500, it looks like.
Okay.
So I think he's that is a pretty cost prohibitive price tag, but that just makes it a contrarian play. So I think that could be a decent strategy if you think that Colorado, no one's stacking him up, and if you're the only one, that's a pretty big advantage.
Well, I'm on Team Nolan Arenado. So Nolan, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are on a game day, big fan of yours today. Any JD Davis for anybody? That's the only other guy I'd like to point out. Projected to hit second. He's popping up a little bit for me at $7.
Who was that, Josh?
JD Davis.
JD Davis. Okay. All right. I did.
Sounds like no to me.
No, I got a couple shares of him. I don't mind targeting Richards with righties, I think, because of his best pitches is his changeup. So he's not going to throw that very effectively to righties in general. I don't mind JD Davis. I mean, he's min salary. So are you on the Mets stack, though, is the thing? Because he's not necessarily the guy I would want to one-off.
I got to – now they're in the middle of the pack for me.
Okay.
Let's see what I had for Mets just to look. Ooh, Scherzer Cole combos with the Mets, which is
there you go.
With 2-man Goldschmidt Ozuna. I don't mind that Mets stack, even though it's a terrible game.
Lowest total.
No one will have it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a limit to how contrarian you want to be on Yahoo? In comparison to some of the, the normal contests we see where you get, 20, 30, 40,000 entries. I'm guessing that to you, I doubt you're pulling anybody directly out of your crunches or anything, but I assume you could probably draw a line in the sand pretty early, knowing you're not going to get to a lot of teams.
Baseball is a pretty contrarian sport, but the one factor that I think is really important is first prize on the signature tournament on Yahoo. Prize pool's $15K, and the first prize is only $2K, which is that's 12% or something compared to a lot of tournaments we see these days are 1/3 of the whole prize pool is going to first, 1/5. A lot of more top heavy structures, so that money is being paid out to the rest of the cashers. So I think the value of cashing is higher on Yahoo than other sites. So for that reason, that might make me not go too off the board because I want lineups with a high enough projection to cash at least average.
Yeah, when it's a little bit flatter and you don't need to beat out 30,000 other entries, you might not need the straight 1%ers across the board. I love the payout structures on Yahoo. I miss it. Adam described it earlier today, and I thought it was a really good explanation of it's like the payout structures from 2015, and I mean that in like a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Very different game then.
I think a lot of people have pointed out that kind of structure, you win your money back a lot more. It's I think that's more sustainable, so I really like what they're doing.
Yeah. Alrighty, we'll head to shortstop. We have, so this one's a little bit more spread out. We have 5 guys in double figures. 11% going to Trevor Story, so it looks like people are picking Story over Arenado coming out of Colorado. 10% to Trey Turner, who I don't know if it's confirmed or not that he is back, but he could be back based on that information. 20% going to Marcus Semien. 18% to Corey Seager. 13% to Brandon Crawford. Jake, I'll go to you. What stands out to you at short, or are you following some of this ownership?
Getting a lot of, actually, DeJong is up there, so that's one of the spots I'm paying up for in that Cardinals stack is Paul DeJong. Lindor was my highest exposed guy. No surprise there against Bundy.
Yeah.
One guy I'm surprised to see up here is Gleyber Torres. I guess it's just a price thing. He's just a better hitter than $15. So I don't love targeting the bullpen games that Tampa rolls out, or really any team, when you're going to face a variety of different pitchers. And, I respect Chirinos a bunch. So assuming he comes in righty, I'm surprised to see how well Gleyber Torres projects on Alex's projections.
Alex, how do you feel about Gleyber?
So I think today, Yankees are projected for 5 runs. That might be about average for them. So just facing the Rays, they have pretty good pitching. So I think that he's about average today. There's some other guys that are standing out more with projection or value for me. One guy that I think is a little bit better value is Corey Seager. $13. That's a pretty bargain bin price for a stack that is projected for 0.7 more runs, and he might even have a better spot in the order. So I really like that. And then if we're talking contrarian, I think I might go for Adalberto Mondesi. He just does it all with the stolen bases and ISO, and I think the Kansas City stack's a little bit harder to get to today. So for that reason, I think he might be a good one-off.
Big Mondesi fan. Grades out really well for me pretty regularly. I don't know if I have a ton just because of the rest of his team, but he strikes me as someone that I wouldn't mind having as a one-off.
Yeah, I'm always with Mondesi. I like that play a ton. Basically, every time. I don't know off the top of my head if Harvey is good at holding runners. I think he's average. He's
probably had a ton of practice lately.
Yeah, no kidding. So he's probably pretty good, actually. Let's see. Yeah, he's about average over the last few years.
The thing is, Mondesi already has 15 stolen bases this year in 191 plate appearances, which is like off the charts. Mm-hmm. And I think that when a guy has that kind of speed, like they can only be so good at holding the runner, Yeah,
he's going one way or the other. I mean, that's how half of that Royals team is.
Same with Merrifield, Hamilton. If he can ever
say Billy Hamilton if he's on. And if you could steal first, that dude would be good.
Yeah.
Jake, you mentioned him, but Francisco Lindor is the guy that stands out for me. I mean, I do like Trevor Story quite a bit, and I'm a fan of that Rocky stack, but Lindor is too good to be, the 5th most expensive shortstop here. I'm a monster Lindor fan, especially in the leadoff spot. Like that is, to me, that is so valuable. Well, I mean, I think to most it's valuable.
Yep.
Any last thoughts at shortstop, or are we ready to close out on outfielders?
I think we mentioned all the guys I got to with any sort of frequency.
All righty. So we head to outfield. I'll hit on the double-digit guys, or actually we might want to just stick to the top. Jock Peterson is the projected most owned outfielder, 29%. Nico Goodrum at 23%. Bryce Harper, 22%. The good Chris Davis with a K, 21%. And then we get into Victor Robles, Mike Trout, Carlos Gonzalez, Kyle Schwarber. That's what the top of the ownership is looking like. Alex, who stands out to you most in terms of outfielders? Or is it more going to be what stacks stand out most for you and how many outfielders are you getting in them?
Yeah, for some reason, this guy called Mike Trout is my top projected and also my top owned in my initial crunch. Have you guys heard of him?
He was also my top owned.
He's not my favorite fish to play for the Angels, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think anytime he's on a slate, he's obvious, and I notice he's not even priced top dollar today. He's only 20, where top price guys are in the high 20s, and on any day he's going to be probably one of the top batters, so that's really appealing. And then I think there's so many outfielders, it's hard to go through them all, but I'm getting some cargo. Got the positive platoon split. And he's only $9. So if you need to complete a roster with someone cheap, that's a definite guy you can go with.
How do you feel about Kyle Schwarber? He's a name that stands out for me.
Against Scherzer?
Potentially leading off.
I think he's in play at $8, but the potential versus Scherzer isn't as high as other teams, so that's definitely a negative factor.
Sure. When we were talking about Trout, I feel like he should have every site should have a clause, sort of like some of those contract clause, where if somebody gets a contract higher than yours, they just automatically bump you up to that range. He should just like whoever the most expensive outfielder is. That's just where Trout should be.
Definitely.
There's just no reason for him to ever not be the most expensive outfielder. He's the best hitter in baseball, and it's not close.
Yep. Agreed. Another guy.
Yeah, who's standing out for you, Jake?
Acuna. Yeah, obviously Trout. Gallo I got to quite a bit of, even at $25. He's behind Trout. He's my second guy. And then just going to show how good the Cardinals stack projects out, Harrison Bader was up there for me in double digits.
I thought you were going to say Ozuna.
Well, yeah, him too. But, Bader. Not the guy you expect to get a ton of if he's going to be batting 7th or 8th, but just the Cardinals' massive total just goes to show how good of a play they actually are.
There's just so much talent in the top of this outfield tier. Like if I grab all of the ownership here from $18 all the way to the top at Yelich, Trout gets 18%. All of the other 27 guys in that range get 20% total. There's just not a lot of ownership going there. So if you are able to pay up for the Marcell Ozunas, Joey Gallos, Cody Bellinger as part of a Dodger stack, you're going to have a really unique lineup just by default.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think what takes place in DFS roster construction is FOMO. So it's like it's really hard for people to go away from Trout for Bellinger or something because it's like Bellinger is the worst play like in cost and in projection. So that's a hard decision for people to make, and you can be rewarded for that in fantasy baseball, just kind of sacrificing projection for contrariness.
Pitchers up, pitchers down, hitters up, hitters down. Let's talk about the summary of it all. Jake, we'll start with you. What are your favorite team stacks?
Team stacks, Atlanta. Oakland I like a lot. Obviously, St. Louis in there. And then Cleveland are kind of my top 4. After that, I'm actually getting to a good amount of Texas, which I'm a little surprised to see. Those are kind of my top. Oh, Yankees actually snuck up there as far as 6-mans go. They've only got about a 5 implied total. So what about you guys?
Alex, what do you got? Who stands out to you from a stack perspective?
So the thing I'm really noticing is that just the way the pricing is set up makes the Dodgers stack really appealing. And that's being demonstrated in our projected ownership because their team makes up 16% of the ownership of the whole slate of batters, which that's 5 times above average. And I think that might be a fade spot because their team total is good, but it doesn't suggest they're overwhelmingly favorites to be the best stack of the day. So I might I think the optimizer is going to cause you to gravitate towards those teams that are priced really well. So like going for a team like the Cardinals, where the potential is really high, but it's a little bit harder to get the optimal lineup.
Okay. For me, Toronto, Cleveland, Oakland, and like 8 other teams at 6%. Actually, let's figure out who breaks the tie. And that broke all of the percentages.
So Alex, just quick, on your top stack tool, you actually have the Dodgers being the most overowned stack. I don't know if you just mentioned this now. I was trying to look at it.
Yeah.
So would you, on Yahoo, where you only get 10 lineups, if you were just making 10, would they be someone you would avoid as a full stack? Even though they project out really well, like they are overowned according to your tool.
I think so, yeah. Just because with baseball, you're trying to make these calculated risks, and the risk reward is not very good because although like you're gonna be cashing more because of the higher projection, like so many people are gonna be on that stack that you're just gonna need to nail every other position to get it. Or if you go to a lesser owned team, I think the risk reward is a little bit better, like going to the Cardinals. Right now, like my top stack is kind of like skewed because the Marlins are priced so low. I guess every guy must be like the minimum, so it's showing like they have a 24% chance of being the best value. But like you can't build a lineup with them that's gonna fill up the salary cap, so I'm gonna just disregard that.
I have the answer for you. 7 of the 8 guys in their lineup are the flat minimum. Neil Walker. Neil Walker is $9. That is the only guy that isn't the flat 7.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, so they're just daring you to go with Miami guys there. I think going to Oakland, where they're the 3rd highest owned, but they're priced well and they have a good shot of being the top stack, is good. Or if you want to go down a little bit further, Atlanta, as Jake mentioned, and then the Angels. They're priced pretty high, but they're the 5th team that has a chance of being the highest scoring. Of course, you're going to need the team that scores the most runs probably to win a tournament. So I like going for that team with only 2.4% ownership.
Man, those Marlins salaries are really crazy to look at. I didn't even like, you just don't pay that much attention to Miami because, well, they're bad. And they're facing Jake DeGrom today, so it's even worse. I hope Neil Walker doesn't play and they get all 8 guys at a full minimum.
It's funny because like the minimum salary is relatively less than other sites, so you get these stacks that are just like so bargain basement, where like on DraftKings the Marlins only have a 5% chance of being the top value stack according to my projections. So that just makes it crazy.
It's a shame. The Marlins would have been a perfect value stack to go if you wanted to get DeGrom and Scherzer in the same lineup, but I don't necessarily think the 6-man Marlins stack against DeGrom is going to be all that great if you also have DeGrom.
Mm-hmm.
David Scherzer Cole combo.
You need a very specific result for it to work out.
Yeah, that's for sure. Lots of strikeouts. Couple, 6 straight solo dongs after DeGrom comes out. Alex, is there anything else that you want to touch on here? Any overarching Yahoo principles that you think people should know?
I think that we've covered the fact that it's a little bit easier, the competition. One easy way you could play on there is just take the projections and optimize and put them in some double ups and stuff. I haven't really been keeping track of who's in them, but I expect the fields are a little bit easier than other sites. And if you can one thing I like about Yahoo now, they added the head-to-head limiter or blacker. So a really good strategy you could do is just black all the good players and then make a lot of head-to-heads, and you're going to make money that way.
There you go. One last time, dropping the link into chat if you'd like to sign up for Yahoo. We would highly recommend you do it through that link. Helps us out tremendously. It won't affect your experience at all. And you can use the promo code AWESOMO when signing up at Yahoo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. You could use that to enter contests the same way as cash. So if you want to do it, I highly recommend both of those things. Use the link, use the promo code. Jake, do you have anything else?
No, this was a fun show. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Alex. Hopefully we can make this a normal thing. And I feel like I learned a lot, and I'm ready to take down 2K on Yahoo tonight.
Not if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
We'll three-way chop it.
I'm blocking heads. I don't want you scooping me.
Oh yeah, I did that from the beginning. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. All right, thanks everybody for joining us. As usual, Fridays are going to be a Yahoo-specific strategy show in the early afternoon, so we're going to be bringing that to you every single week around this time. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Use the link in chat to sign up for Yahoo. And best of luck tonight. We'll talk to you guys again next week.